My name is Nisalis. I am a freshman here at ERI, and I am a student worker at the Women's Center.
I'm Dr. Lázaro Camacho Jr., pronouns he, him, él. Many of you might know me as the CSP program coordinator and a faculty member in the College of Ed. I always think it's important to situate our sense of positionality. So always include the fact that I'm a second generation Puerto Rican kid from the West End of Providence, Rhode Island, historically diverse but low income neighborhood. Lots of folks from that space don't end up taking deep journeys of formal learning and formal education. I consider myself lucky to have been able to do so. Centered in a really important understanding of mentorship and the notion of paying it forward. And so my life as an educator and as a person is always centered in this idea of lifting as we rise.
I am Anna Barraza. I am the director of the Women's Center at the University of Rhode Island.
My name's Mike. I use he, him pronouns. I am a second-year student in the College Student Personnel Program. I hold an assistantship as an academic advisor in the College of Environment and Life Sciences, and I'm also an instructor for our first-year experience seminar, URI 101. I am from North Kingstown, Rhode Island, went to URI for undergrad, graduated in 2023, and yeah, I've been here basically my whole life, so that's me.
I'm Hazelyn Rios. I'm 21 years old, and I'm a recent URI graduate.
My name is Shine Gregory. I am 18 years old. I'm currently undeclared.
People often mistake my kind of resilience with kind of naivety. Sometimes when I go through like really hard times, I try to surround myself with things that really bring me joy, and it just kind of gives me like a positive kind of feeling, and that I kind of like show that on the outside. So yeah.
I think people think that I'm really like outgoing. I think they think I'm this like social butterfly, but in real life, I'm actually like the biggest introvert you've ever met in your life. I feel incredibly taxed by like social interactions. Like I love engaging with folks, but it just drains my battery. So like to see me in class, to see me at work, to see me in some type of social settings, you might be like, yo, this dude's the life of the party. But I go home and I sit in the corner and I just like veg out for like 7 days after I do something that takes a lot of my energy.
There are huge misconceptions about me because of my very direct way of speaking and very matter-of-fact way of speaking. And I think oftentimes it comes across as harsh or rigid. And a lot of that has to do with my upbringing. Being a first-gen American, the only daughter of a favorite son, oldest son, Latino, raised in a foreign country, who came here and had to rebuild his life and wanted the best for his children, realizing that the things that he was pouring into his children, me, his daughter, was receiving in a manner that I always had to advocate for myself. I think he didn't expect that it would backfire against him, because a lot of the times that I was advocating against his own culture and the things that he wanted still to maintain in my identity, but I had to force myself out of that mold that he, in his mind, had created for what he expected of a daughter of a female child. And so being here in this country and growing up here fully American, oftentimes a lot of that masculine energy that he taught me through modeling and expectation and behavior comes across but people don't expect that out of this form. They would probably receive it better if it was in a male identity form, a white male identity form specifically. So I think oftentimes I speak or engage with the same energy that people would expect out of a white man. And because it's me saying it, it's interpreted a particular way. I think when you take all of those things into account, even so, some people will be like, no, she's just really comes across a certain way. I think it's interpreted that way because it's me, what I look like saying it or doing it. So I think that's the biggest misconception.
I consider myself to be pretty outgoing. I consider myself to be sort of like a friendly, nice person that I try to make it easy for everyone to get along with me. I try to be sort of like that person in the room that people feel like they can go to. And just sort of like a bright energy that walks into the room and makes everybody feel good. And I've tried to sort of like embody that energy my entire life. And I think as a result of that, people sort of assume that I'm just cool with whatever, down for whatever, okay with whatever, and they can sort of talk any way they want towards me or do whatever they want towards me or not consider my opinions or how I want certain things to go. So that's a skill that I've definitely had to develop, especially over the past few years in undergrad and then continuing into grad school, is self-advocacy. I think, again, like being like the quote unquote friendly one or the quote unquote like funny one, people just assume that you're cool with whatever and that you don't have sort of like a strong voice underneath all of that can stand up for what you believe in and stand on, you know, what your values and your morals are. So that's something that sometimes I do feel like I have to prove to other people, is that like, yes, I have this like, you know, friendly external demeanor, and that's because that is the way I am. Like, I am that person. It's not fake, but underneath that, if I do feel a way about something, or if I feel strongly about something, or if I want to advocate for something, I'm going to do that, and I am able to do that. I think even like working with students too, like working in like advising and mentoring spaces, I am sort of like that advisor that's super friendly. Like, I have all the fidget toys in my office, I have posters on the wall in my office, like all the fun things. But when we need to get down to business and it is a tough conversation, and like I interned in student conduct and this helped with that too. Like, when those tough conversations need to happen, like I can make them happen. And I think that's something that like when I was a little bit younger, maybe in high school, I struggled with that, because there's that balance of like wanting people to like you versus being somebody that is like, you know, reliable and can be counted on, and somebody that's gonna, you know, facilitate those conversations when need be. So that's sort of the balance that I try to like juggle, I guess. So yeah, that's something I would say people assume about me, just being like, you know, oh, Mike will be cool with it, or Mike's chill about that. And I try to be, yes, in a lot of ways, but sometimes that's not what the situation calls for. So you gotta, you know, speak up when needed. So yeah.
I think a lot of people think that I'm intimidating when they first meet me. I've been told that I have RBF, which is true, I think. And also just because I'm a little bit more like introverted and quiet, much more of an observer than like just gonna start talking out of nowhere or whatever. So I think sometimes it puts people off. And I don't know. I mean, if I would explain it differently, I do have RBF. I'll say that, but I am completely cordial. I'm very nice. I'm open to having any conversation. Like, if anyone talks to me, I'm definitely gonna talk to you back. Like, I'm not gonna just like write you off for whatever reason. But yeah.
For some context, because this one needs context. So I am gay, and I do live in a Christian household. So that doesn't mix. So I remember when I was first really getting into my identity, I was like also going through like the angsty years of my life. So I would set like really strong boundaries with my family, and I think they took that as me being very difficult. So there was a long time where my family kind of definitely saw me as kind of like the black sheep, if that makes sense. But at the time, that was really just me making sure that those relationships were treating me the way I wanted to get treated. And I had like the agency within those relationships, because like I do really care about my parents and my family. So I wanted to make sure that like the way I was getting treated is like healthy for me. But at the time, I think I was being really mean. So I think that came off as like snappy.
to share my story, it kind of empowers me to kind of advocate for myself, because since like assumptions are from other people, I don't really get the chance to kind of correct those assumptions about me. Um, so it's basically my time to be like, no, like this is who I am. Yeah.
I mean, like it is what it is, right? Like this is who I am. I think whether or not you want to buy into that version of me is really on you. I think for me, it reinforces for me how binary our thinking can be about individuals and how we lack a capacity for like nuance and complexity, and we put boxes around folks and we don't let them live outside that box. And so I feel like maybe for me, I wonder if I'm being my authentic self enough. Like in some ways I think I show up as my authentic self, but maybe I think sometimes that there's parts of me uh that folks don't see, so they can have a more balanced understanding of who I am. But then I wonder, is that even important, right? And so when I think about what that means, I'm thinking about, what does that mean when I show up in the classroom? What does that mean when I show up in like a faculty meeting? What does that mean when I show up in a town hall or whatever, right? Like, do we need to? It makes me reflect on myself. So it doesn't make me feel bad or good necessarily. It just makes me wonder why folks are so prone to sort of limiting their thoughts around who others are. And it makes me wonder if there's sometimes something I need to be doing differently. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
I've had a couple of times recently, actually, I just shared a story about my current phase in life, right? And as you know, because we've talked about this, as a caretaker of my parents, and I talked about how I didn't expect in my role at this time in my life that I would be taking care of my parents to a degree, and what that means and what empathy means. And I remember this was at a program and the Multicultural Center. Two young women came up to me afterward, two students, both of them first year students, and were like, everything that you said, especially about taking care of your parents and being the only daughter and having to fit into a cultural mold, but knowing that you had to live and operate outside of that space, really resonated with me. And I appreciated you saying that, because I felt like so many different pieces of that was who I am right now. And having to explain to my parents that, yeah, I still have homework at 10 o'clock at night, or I'm writing yeah, I'm in my friend's room because I'm writing a paper, or, things of that nature. And then I was really grateful, because I think the perception of certain students is that I am a certain way because I tend to speak a certain way. So when I show the soft pieces of me, people are like, oh, she's not like that, like what we thought. And I hope that it resonates with them in a way that they see the humanity, because I think all of us do, right? All of us have the persona that we always try to put in front of others, but then when things happen, we put our humanity on display. So for me, trusting the audience when I was talking about my parents and my responsibility and role within my current role with their lives, I think it really helped them to see past the university administrator, past who I am and who I have to be when I am facing them most of the time, and showing them that there is humanity behind that facade, if you will.
I think it's liberating and freeing to be able to share, those parts of who you really are, but I think at the same time it's scary. I think when I'm, observing other people and they challenge my assumptions that I had of them, or they challenge my biases that I had of them, like, yes, that's a learning moment, but at first you're like, ooh, like, I have some like inner discomfort there because what I thought of them doesn't match the reality of the situation. And so to share your story with others, I'm always thinking like, okay, what if that's happening for them? Like, what if I'm, showing a part of who I am and they're having that inner like, oh, well, that's not what I assumed about Mike, and this is actually the case. Even though I didn't think that to be true. So I think it's freeing, and it's ultimately something we should do more. And I think we should be not afraid to share those parts of ourselves. But at the same time, it can be a little bit scary just to cause like that inner turmoil, I guess, for people. But I think part of like I think especially in this field and in the climate we're in, being able to shake and disrupt things is so important. And kind of like holding that energy of, showcasing your full truth and who you are, I think is so important. So I think even if it's scary, you just kind of have to do it. There's a quote, I think it's speak the truth even if your voice shakes. I'm not sure who that came from, but I love that. I always rely on that too. It's like, show who you are, show who the real you is, and sort of share your authentic experiences with people. Even if it's a little bit scary, you'll be rewarded for doing that. So I try to live by that.
I mean, I've been thinking like a lot about like interpersonal relationships now that I'm like outside of school and like working more and like being in much more closer contact with people like every day. And I used to think that like, oh, everybody is like super like outgoing, everybody is super talkative, so I felt very strange and like an outsider a little bit. But I don't know if it's just like a young people thing sometimes, or like, I don't know, just like a college thing. But in the real world, I feel like most people are like chill with that and they understand that, and they're like just maybe they're like that themselves. A lot of people I've met have been like still like me, I guess. They're like super friendly and stuff after you start talking to them. So I mean, I just think having other people, I don't know, see, like maybe you are intimidated, but like don't let that inhibit you from making conversation with people, because it's, I think it's like a you thing a little bit sometimes. You don't have to be scared of people. Like most of them will talk to you back.
It feels good. No, it just feels like, because I went through that whole like roller coaster with my family or whatever, my parents, and like after I had passed the angsty years, and I was like, okay, like let's have a talk like adults. Like all of those years of me like not being able to communicate efficiently, and then finally being able to be like, hey guys, like let's talk, and like let me share my side of the story without being mean or anything. And like now we have a really good relationship, and I love my parents now more than ever. So it feels like me sharing my story at the end of the day strengthens the relationships that I really care about, and it feels good to take control of my narrative. Yeah.
No, am I slouching? I think I'm slouching.
Wait, yeah, who are you? So bad.
Boom. Yeah, that was good.
Edit that out.